Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. Matt Rogerson is the author of Fulci's Inferno, Faith in the Films of a Horror and Giallo Auteur. Welcome to the show, Matt. Hello.
Oh, hello. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. Thanks for agreeing to come on the show.
Oh, no worries. It's not every day someone asks me to come and talk about this particular Fulci movie, so I'm really excited about it.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you are, and I'm glad we can give you a platform to chat as much as you want about this film, because you were saying it's not very often that you've had that opportunity, right?
Yeah, it's usually I find myself I'm either talking about his horrors from the early 80s or sometimes it's Don't Torture a Duckling. Um, I love them all. They're all fantastic, but this is one that doesn't get as much coverage as I think it deserves. So yeah, really, really happy.
There we go. We can cover as much as we need to today. First time watch from me as well. It is just me. There's no Andy this week. He's off on his holidays. I think we did say that last time. But yeah, it was previous guest Vicky who put us on to you and mentioned your book, obviously Fulci's Inferno, which is great. We'll get a chance to talk about that as well. So yeah, you are really a Fulci. Would you say Fulci super fan?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been a Fulci fan since 7 years of age. Um,
Oh my God.
I know, healthy, right? When I was a kid growing up, I grew up during the video nasties controversy in the early 80s, and at the time, my dad was a VHS pirate. So we had this bank of
Oh
video
wow.
recorders in our front room, constantly whirring away. I would ask my dad, "What is it you're recording?" And he would tell me, nothing for you, leave it alone." So eventually one night I decided to sneak downstairs while my parents were in bed and find out for
Mm.
myself. Um, the first night wasn't a Fulci, it was Evil Dead, but I absolutely
Okay.
loved it. So that was my first ever horror film. And then the second or third time was Zombie Flesh Eaters. And as soon as I saw that zombie fighting a shark, that was it. That was what I knew I wanted to do with my life.
Fight
Was
sharks.
follow the yeah, was follow this filmmaker and all the crazy stuff he puts on celluloid.
Wow, 7 years old. Did your dad ever find out that you'd checked
Yeah, yeah,
downstairs? He did.
yeah. I got found out eventually. It wasn't my dad I had to worry about. It was my grandma, who was
Oh,
the kind of staunch Roman Catholic matriarch of the family.
oh, I
So
see.
once she found out, it wasn't just me that was in trouble. My dad's whole operation had to be shut down.
Oh my God. So it was that much of a stern hand ruling over the household that the whole operation would get closed
Oh
down.
yeah, yeah. My nan ruled our entire family. My dad was a lapsed Catholic. He wasn't really in the church, but nonetheless, the kids had to grow up in the Roman Catholic Church. And it was
Okay.
it was when I did my first communion and first confession, and we had it drilled into us at school that for our first confession it had to be, something really juicy, something we've been doing that we shouldn't be doing that we've previously gotten away with.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I've been watching all these films I shouldn't be watching. Confessed that to the priest, and because the priest is best mates with my nana,
Oh my
he
God.
immediately went and told her.
Oh, you absolute grass.
I know, right? Oh, that he was far worse than a grass, I'll tell you.
Oh,
But yeah, so yeah, my nan found out, and that was it. That was the end of it.
so I guess like growing up in that household, did that increase your interest in Roman Catholicism in film and in Fulci's films as well?
Massively.
Massively.
That led to me to have a lifetime interest in. I mean, an interest in all horror. I love all horror, but religious horror is my absolute go-to. And that's why when I got into Fulci proper as a young adult, when finally all these films were released from limbo and we were allowed to buy them, that's why I immediately started noticing all these little digs at the Catholic Church that he would put in his
Yeah.
films, and why I decided to kind of follow that and eventually write a book about it.
Yeah, of course. It's almost like it was meant to be, wasn't it? That you enjoyed his films, and then suddenly, oh, Annie's having a dig at the church. Well,
Yeah, all fits in.
it all fits
All
in.
my favourite interests
All your
all
favorite
grouped in
interests.
together.
Video nasties, having a dig at the church. Come on.
Yeah,
Amazing. I mean, I guess that makes sense that we immediately talk about your book then. So obviously Fulci's Inferno, Faith in the Films of a Horror and Giallo Auteur. There we go. There it is in the flesh. Amazing. So, I mean, can we talk about like the process of writing this book and everything that
yeah,
went into it as well? It was
absolutely.
released late last year, that's correct, isn't it?
It was, yeah, November 2025. It came out from McFarland and Co. I've been officially writing it since 2017. That's when I started my research proper. But it's something, the idea's kind of always been there in the back of my head since I was probably my early 20s. Like I said, when all these films were released from limbo, from video nasty limbo, and I got to watch them all again. And I got this idea about the fact that he had this very, very anti Catholic and particularly anti Vatican thread running through his horror films, and I thought, oh, what's the rest of his filmography like? And the more of his filmography I discovered, the more anti-Catholic sentiment I
Mm.
discovered. So yeah, the idea was always there, and then it was 2017 when I started researching properly and putting pen to paper, because what I was really interested in was, did he ever get in any trouble with the
Mm.
church? Did he get in any trouble with the Vatican? And I found out that yes, he did, quite a lot, in fact. And through that, I found out that the Vatican actually had its own film review division, because it was right from when cinema began. The church was very worried about this kind of new form of media, taking people's attention away from matters of the church and the Bible. And by the 1930s, they'd set up the Centro Cattolico Cinematografia, which was the Catholic Film Centre, which was all about censorship. And then they put out, it's called the Segnalazioni Cinematografiche, which was a fortnightly pamphlet, then
Okay.
collected into a collected edition at the end of each year, where the Vatican would review every single film being released and basically tell Roman Catholics what they could and couldn't see. So even if a film was passed by the state censors in your country, particularly in Italy, even if it got by the state censors, if the church said no, you didn't go.
My God.
And basically, so many films and directors' careers lived and died based on the pronouncements made in this book. So I then spent a few years trying to get my hands on as many copies as possible, because they've
Yeah.
never been translated into English before. They're all in Italian, only
Mm.
ever really been distributed throughout Italy, a little bit in Spain as well. And then as I got more and more of them, I was gathering the reviews of Fulci's films, gathering the reviews of a whole bunch of horror movies, for which eventually became my other book, The Vatican versus Horror Movies,
Oh yeah, of
uh,
course.
which came out in, I want to say, April of last year. I ended up writing both books at the same time, hence why they both came out in the same
Mm.
year. And yeah, carried on from there, and found this through line that goes right from the very beginning of Fulci's career, before he was ever directing, when he was just writing and co-writing screenplays for other directors, all the way through to his very last films. And I've mapped it out in this book, how he shifted from kind of gentle ribbing and taking the mickey out of the church to full on criticism of the Vatican, the trouble he got into at various points during his career, and then when he started working as a horror director, how that moved from commentary about the Vatican to commentary about his faith itself. And that's why a number of his horror films deal with the apocalypse, with the rapture,
Mm.
the what do they call it?
The
The
rapture.
Revelation.
The revelation. Okay, I've got it.
Revelation.
That's fascinating. I mean, the cover for the Vatican versus horror movies, your book as well, is great with the with the.
The church doing The Exorcist,
I mean, the
the
question,
Pope.
the Pope doing the Exorcist. The question I've got to ask is, did they like any horror movies? Were any horror movies allowed to be seen?
Do you know what? Surprisingly enough, yes, there
Wow.
were.
Okay.
So one of the chapters in the Vatican versus horror movies deals with satanic horror. 'Cause each chapter in the book deals with a different subgenre of horror exploitation film. There's all
Mm.
sorts in there: zombies, cannibals, slashers,
Mm.
rape, revenge, nunsploitation. The vast majority of which they didn't like for very specific reasons. Now,
Mm.
satanic horror, they were actually quite fans of because very often the protagonist or the hero in these films was a priest.
Yeah.
And it was a priest using the power of God to overcome the devil or his minions.
Mm.
So they liked that message getting out there, the priests as superheroes kind of thing.
Yeah. The priests are all right in these films. The priests are great. All the other stuff, that's shut up,
Yeah.
the devil. The
These
devil.
ones aren't nonsense kids.
These ones aren't nonsense kids. It was a horror movie specifically about nonsense kids that they were, for some reason, not fans of. Honestly, that's fascinating as well. That's great. So not just horror as well. It was sort of like all films that they were kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
covering.
all films. My book covers horror and exploitation. I have thought about doing a second volume and going into some of the quote unquote more serious genres of
Mm,
film. That may very well be a future book. But
yeah.
yeah, Vatican versus horror movies is all about that. And then there's a spine through Fulci's Inferno where each film or group of films I'm talking about, I get the opportunity to just kind of splice in what the Vatican thought about it.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating, and unfortunately, Matt, I'm very sad to say I haven't read either of those books, but I absolutely will be reading both of them because they sound great and right up my street. In terms of like Fulci's Inferno, would you say that there's like um a certain what Fulci films would you recommend watching? I guess before, I guess for someone who's for me, I guess a little bit of an amateur Fulci enjoyer.
Hmm.
Is that the right? That's probably not the correct combination of words. But I guess what would you say are like the films that you would recommend watching and reading the book as well?
So everyone starts with Fulci's horror films, and they start with them for a reason. I mean, come the end of the 70s, the early 1980s,
Mm,
Fulci started making these incredibly surreal horror films, the likes of which had never really been seen before. These
mm.
kind of gore-drenched dream logic parables. So I would say those first. I would say Zombie Flesh Eaters. I would say the Gates of Hell triptych. So that's City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, and House by the Cemetery. Then I would go a little bit further back, and he had a period from the late 60s through to the mid 70s that he called his genre terrorist phase, which is where he was constantly jumping from genre to
Oh, I
genre
see.
and made some incredible films in a really wide range. So there's Beatrice Cenci, which is his kind of transgressive historical drama. That's a very, very anti-Catholic film, that. Um, the film we're about to talk about today, Lizard in a Woman's Skin, one of
Yes.
the greatest giallo films ever made. Don't Torture a Duckling is another one that I would heartily recommend. That was Fulci's own favourite of his films.
I see. I see.
He loved Don't Torture a Duckling more than anything else he
Mm.
ever made. And if you want something a bit different, at some point in 1973, he made a children's film.
Is this White Fang?
It is White Fang, yeah.
I was looking at his sort of filmography, and this was one of the ones that sort of did stand out. White Fang, and is there a sequel as well?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Challenge to White Fang the following year. So he adapted Jack London's novel in 1973. It was incredibly successful domestically. And it would remain his most successful film.
Mm,
It was something like the 12th highest grossing film of the year in Italy.
I
And
see.
it was the highest grossing family film of the year in Italy. So it beat out whatever the likes of, say, Disney were putting out at the
Yeah.
time. It beat out all
Bed
of
knobs and
those.
broomsticks or something.
Yeah, all that crap. And then yeah, it was so successful that he did a sequel the following year, which was also very successful.
Yeah.
So this genre film director, who everybody always thinks of his horror and his gore, and everybody thinks of all the eyeball violence in his
Yeah.
movies, he actually had his biggest hit making a children's film.
It's kind of crazy that that came before the likes of his horror films, right? Or some of his more successful horror films, like The Beyond, House by the Cemetery. See, as you mentioned that, you'd almost think that would be something somebody would do a little bit later in their career, a children's movie, for example. So yeah, I guess it is
Yeah, when
fascinating.
they've matured.
Yeah.
Fulci didn't mature. That was the
No.
thing about Fulci. Fulci got more and more mischievous and cantankerous as his
Mm.
life went on. So it's probably better that he did a children's film earlier. I
Yeah.
would hate to think what a
Oh
Fulci
God.
children's film from the 1980s would look like. Probably not something you'd want to show your kids.
No. I
But
met.
yeah,
Oh,
he did all sorts. He started out in comedy. He's after he finished training at film school,
mm,
he became the screenplay writer for a chap called Steno, who was one of Italy's greatest satirists. He
mm.
wrote a load of his screenplays, and then his directorial career, his first 6 or 7 years, all he did was comedies.
Wow. So yeah, cantankerous over the years as as the life of directing really got under his skin. He was like, you know what? It's a zombie fighting a shark that I feel like the people really, really want to see. And a lizard in a woman's skin, although not quite literally.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's super fascinating. I'll put the link to obviously both of those books of yours, Matt, in the show notes as well, so people can hunt them down and read them because sound like
thank
great reads.
you. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
I guess on that note, so this week as well, the reason that this is a very timely episode that we're recording today is because it is Fulci Lives Film Week
It
officially.
is
So from
indeed.
from today, day of recording, the 16th of June to the 23rd, is that correct?
I think it started on
Oh, it's started already.
Sunday. So
I
what was
see,
that? The
I see.
13th or 14th?
I see, I
13th it
see.
started, and it goes through until this coming Saturday.
Mm. What kind of is the gist, I guess, of Fulci Lives Film Week, Matt?
So it's set around so it's basically the week of Fulci's birth.
Mm,
So Fulci was born on the 20th of June, 21st of June. And so each year for about the past 6 years, there's a group of people on Instagram who basically have this week-long celebration of all things Fulci. And they have the hashtag Fulci Lives Film Week. There's a bunch of them who kind of curate everything and just encourage everybody in the horror community on Instagram to post as much Fulci stuff as they possibly can,
mm,
whether it's pictures of their collections, whether it's stories about particular films, whether it's the soundtracks to his movies, because there's so many iconic soundtracks to his films,
mm.
just all Fulci all the time for a week. And it's
Wow.
lots of fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun, especially for I mean, definitely for a Fulci fan. Has it been going on for a few years? It has, hasn't it?
Yeah, this is the sixth one.
Sixth year. Incredible. So yeah, I mean, I did. Well, to be fair, didn't even plan this episode for this week, so the stars have aligned perfectly for this. So thanks for facilitating that, Matt. Appreciate it.
No
Um,
worries.
so I guess one thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that on this show, we tend to ask brand new guests who are first timers on the Horror Hangout to discuss their Mount Rush horror. So essentially, four picks for. So it can be a film, it can be a director, it can be an actor, it can be a monster, it can be a weapon, it can be something like that. What four choices would you pick for your Mount Rush horror, Matt?
Right. So when you told me about this, I immediately flew into a panic
Oh God.
because I am not good at choosing things.
It was a late. It was a late. It was late in the day as well, wasn't it? It was actually today that I went right. What do I need to prep Matt for the show? Not really much. Oh wait, and this is always the big one, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't pick four of anything. I mean, I I started to try and do a definitive top 10 list on Letterboxd, and
Oh
it had to
God,
become a top 100
I don't
because
blame you. Yeah,
there was just too
absolutely.
much. And yeah, these are very wide parameters as well.
Mm.
But that being said, here's what
Mm.
I've come up with.
Okay.
So first off, kind of obvious, Lucio Fulci.
Yeah.
He's my favourite genre director. He made, I think, 5 of my top 10 films of all time. He's the guy who topped the video nasty list. Out of all the directors that appear on it, he had 2 of his films prosecuted, a third film on the official list, and then a further 2 of his films were banned using the Video Recordings Act. So he's the king of the video nasties
Yeah.
and my favourite.
I mean, I'm not much of a betting man, but if I was, I would have definitely said you're going to choose. That was who you're going to choose first. So yeah, I'm glad I've got an idea of you. Already hunting down your top 100 list on Letterboxd if it's on there.
It's
Because I
on
think
there.
okay.
If you can't find it, I'll send you a link.
I think I found it. So
Cool.
I'll be you continue. I'll just be perusing.
Will do. So second up is another Italian because I am obsessed with Italian horror, and that is Mario Bava. Just because he is
Yeah.
the innovator. He was a major player in the Gothic horror revival of the late 50s and 60s, alongside Hammer Horror here in the UK and Roger Corman's Poe cycle in the US. He created the giallo,
Mm.
and in doing so, he kind of created the slasher film as well, or
Yeah.
certainly laid a lot of the groundwork for it. So, in terms of innovators in the genre, I can't think of anyone better than Mario Bava.
Mm. Great choice.
Next up,
I'm assuming that makes sense for your Instagram handle as well now, right?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah,
Bava lamp.
I thought that was right anyway. But again,
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm on the same page.
well done. I have to explain it to so many people, but yes, Bava lamp. It is Mario
Didn't get it.
Bava and a lava lamp
I didn't get it straight
combined.
away. I'm glad it's as simple as that because I'm glad the lamp part isn't something else. I'm glad it's just like, well, lava kind of sounds like lava, so I'm assuming it must be lava lamp.
That's exactly
And
what it is.
I'm glad, yeah, that's the kind of train of thought. I hope, I wish everyone was on. It sounds good. There we
Thank
go.
you. Thank you. Finally, some appreciation
Finally, some
of my
appreciation in my
wordplay.
time. Yeah.
Okay, next up, I've gone for a horror character. Not Italian. I've gone for Freddy Krueger of
Yes.
the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. The ultimate icon of the 1980s.
Mm.
My favourite horror antagonist of all time. Probably the biggest star horror's had since the Universal Monsters.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
I can't think of many other horror characters who ended up getting a show on MTV, who ended
Mm.
up on children's lunchboxes. Just the sheer popularity of Freddy and how he spread far and wide throughout the 80s and early 90s,
Mm.
incredible. And I've always been a huge fan of his.
Again, I feel like Freddy Krueger is the one character that's getting chosen the most for Mount Rush horror on this show. I'd
Good.
like to say that might be 6 or 7 already. So
Ooh,
you're in good company.
fantastic. And lastly, if you'll allow me, this is a bit of a off the beaten track one.
Oh, I like ones like that. Go for it.
It's Satan.
It's bloody Satan himself. It's the
I'm
big
going to
red.
carve Lucifer's face on that there mountain. Religious horror is my favourite subgenre of horror. Having grown up in the Roman Catholic Church, I am full of Roman Catholic guilt and trauma.
Mm.
So wherever there's horror, there's Satan, and certainly wherever there's religious horror, there's Satan, or at the very least, the suggestion of
Yeah.
Satan.
And I
He's
feel like
such an important presence across so much of the genre.
absolutely. And I feel like in the last year or so as well, right back up there again in modern
Definitely a
cinema.
revival.
A
Yeah.
huge revival. Everything's cuz Satan, isn't it?
Yep.
Is there a particular physical version of him you'd like carved into this stone? Oh, I mean, I'm guess we're talking as big horns as possible.
I would want the version from Dante's Inferno, So the version originally carved by Gustave Dore, the three-headed giant beast that sits there munching the bodies of the damned.
Oh my God, that's great. Yeah. Oh yeah. That would look great in the stone
I think so.
alongside Freddy Krueger. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great four picks. Do you mind, Matt, if I mention just a few of your picks in your top 100 list?
No, go for it.
Just wax lyrical about a few of them. So,
Mm.
a few that jumped out to me is um, Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor is really high. A film I love.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's a film that did things to me. So I won't go too deep into it because I don't want to turn this into a real downer. But I have not so much anymore, but in my life I've dealt with a lot of trauma. And something I used to do when I was kind of in the midst of all this trauma was I used to dissociate a lot. And
Mm,
Possessor is basically about dissociation.
sure.
It's basically about a person kind of locking herself away and becoming somebody else.
Mm,
And so when the first time I watched that film, it absolutely triggered me and I wasn't right for a week. But then after I'd gotten over that, I went straight back to it. I've watched it a bunch of times since. And yeah, it really speaks to me on a personal level.
yeah. I can imagine. I mean, it was a deeply affecting film. It came out right in the midst of the first lockdown, I believe. I
Yes.
remember watching it on like the BFI player. There was like a premiere or something like that that I paid for, and I knew a little bit about the film, but yeah, I was totally blown away by it. Um, another Cemetery Man I saw recently for the first time, uh,
Ah,
and loved it.
yeah.
Rupert Everett is
Yep.
is great in that. Everyone's chewing the scenery. It's
I
outrageous.
prefer it, of course, by its Italian name, Della Morte dell'Amore.
Sure.
I was in love with Anna Falchi as a teenager.
I can't believe. Well, yeah. I
She,
don't blame you.
as far as I was concerned, she was the most beautiful woman on the planet. Um,
I feel like I can't argue against that in this
she
particular,
she got me
especially in
through
this
some
film.
difficult teenage years. Let's say that.
Oh, Peeping Thomas, that's a film we've done on this podcast. Me and Andy, my
Classic.
co-host, I say my co-host, like people who listen won't know who he is. We love the part where I can't remember exactly what happens, but someone's leaving a porno theater with some educational books.
Yes.
And we're like, that's what we're gonna constantly carry around a bag with that on it, just in case. And then, shall I mention one more? Let's mention one more. Let's look for someone a little bit. Oh, and Demons 2, again, watched for the first time very recently. I feel like this is as good. Let's say probably better than in terms of demons in a high-rise building, better than Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. Yeah, in a heartbeat. I love horror that breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
I love horror that kind of presents you with an uncontainable evil that even starts to corrupt the very film that it's in.
Mm,
And I love the first Demons movie, but then the second one kind of takes it up to 11, and you've got the film from the original is on the TV in the second
yeah.
one,
Yeah.
and then comes out of the TV into the real world of the second one. So by this time, you're dealing with what, three different realities? Because you've got
Yeah.
the original film, the real world of the original film, and then you've got the real world of this film as well. You've got three layers of reality across
Yeah.
those two movies. I just think that's fantastic.
It was great. I loved it. I don't feel like there's those demon designs are like I feel like that would have really affected me if I seen them as a kid. I mean, I saw Evil Dead when I was really young, but I never saw Demons or Demons 2 till I was older. Something about like the way the mouths and the eyes and like everything looks like sweaty in these demon
Yeah.
designs. It really does sort of get to me. It's really quite
And
terrifying.
and if you look at who worked on it, it was basically like the Italian horror version of a rock supergroup. You've got
Oh,
Dario Argento producing, Lamberto Bava, son of Mario, directing. You've got Dardano Sacchetti, who was a long-time Fulci collaborator, and Franco Ferrini, a long-time Argento collaborator, both writing these films. And appearing in the first one, you've got Michele Soavi, who went on to direct Cemetery Man.
Oh wow, there we go. Definitely a rock supergroup.
And Goblin. You've got
And
Claudio
Goblin. Oh my
Simonetti
god, and
from
Goblin as
Goblin
well.
doing the music.
And I'm going to mention one more. Sorry, Matt. I'm just having such a good time
Go
looking through this
for it.
list. And a film that came out not just this year, but merely weeks ago, Backrooms has made it
Oh,
into your top 50.
yeah.
We covered that
Um, from
3 weeks ago.
from the second the credits started to roll, I'm really big on liminal horror. In addition to writing my own books, I have an indie publishing press called 1428 Publishing. Our
Mm.
first book came out last year. It is Darkest Margins, 24 essays on liminality and
Oh,
liminal
wow.
spaces in
Okay.
the horror genre.
Oh, my God.
Essays by a bunch of different talented writers. I've got a couple in there, but it's mostly a different writer for each chapter, all about liminal horror. And so I've been looking forward to Backroom so much, and
Mm.
it did not disappoint me. It gave me that kind of existential chill.
Yeah, I agree. We liked it here on the show. Our guest Lucy really loved it as well. Liminal horror is probably we're probably gonna get a lot more of it now, aren't we? In
I
especially in
imagine
mainstream
so,
horror
yeah.
films. Amazing. Okay, well, thank you very much, Matt. I think that gives our audience a good idea of you as a film fan, as a horror fan. So thank you. I'm going to very, very quickly talk about a couple of little bits of horror news, just because that's what we do every week. So, first off, Dirt in the Gate Movies and Arrow Video present Grindfest 2026. We've mentioned this a few times on the show in previous years. It's taking place at the Regent in Christchurch, and in terms of the lineup, so it's 3 days. And in terms of the lineup, we have got some really, real heavy hitters. Let's say we have got the likes of Basket Case,
Mm,
Tenebrae,
mm.
which we've covered on this show, Vamp, The Wicker Man, Silver Bullet, which we've covered on this show, The People Under the Stairs, which we've covered on the show, uh, Frankenstein Unbound, The Phantom of the Opera. This sounds crazy, crazy good, and in 35 millimeter as well. All of the
Yeah.
films in 35 millimeter, the 35 millimeter format, which is super, super exciting. Um, yeah, it's incredible. It looks great. And it's in September, so the Regent, Christchurch in the UK. Check this out. We've shared it on our social media, on Facebook pages and on Instagram. So go and check out the lineup. This looks outstanding. Um, well up for this. What else have we got?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Matt, go on.
It's it's a shame it's the other end of the country for me, but I'm still going to make an effort because when I saw that lineup, I was like, oh, I've got to get down to this. I've
Yeah.
got to.
Any
So I will, yeah, I will start planning now.
anything in particular that stands out for you on that lineup?
Well, the obvious one for me to say would be Tenebrae,
Mm.
but I love Basket Case, and I've never seen it on the big screen. I love me some comedy horror as well, some schlock,
Mm.
and
Oh
Helen
yeah.
Lotter's one of my many favourites. So yeah, Basket Case for me.
Yeah. Basket Case, absolutely. Tenebrae, yes. Silver Bullet, I think, is probably a little bit underrated. I'd like to see that.
Do you know what? I've never seen it.
Oh no, it's good. It is good. It's got a good werewolf design. It's got some great performances. It's got a priest.
Yeah, I've had a few people recommend it to me very recently, actually, like literally the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll look forward to watching that if I can get down there.
Absolutely. Tenebrae, a Vamp. I like Vamp as well. Again, that was one
Vamp's
that
really good.
I didn't even mention. Existenz. That's how you say it, isn't it? Existenz.
Yeah, Existence.
I've not seen that for years. I wanted to, what now Tenebrae's popped up. I wanted to mention something that happened at Fright Fest last year because I don't think I've ever mentioned it on the podcast. So, a filmmaker called Craig G. Cooper, who made a short film called Bath Bomb, and we had him on for a bonus episode chatting about Bath Bomb, and then we had him on for a main episode talking about Tenebrae. And the weirdest thing, this is the kind of shit that happens that makes me think we live in a simulation, even though it's not a huge big deal. I know. The weirdest thing happened. I saw Colin G. Cooper at Fright Fest. What I can't remember what film we were watching, but what I had to leave early, so I actually gave him my ticket for The Substance. So he saw The Substance and sat in my bum groove that I'd made in the seat for the whole weekend. The weirdest thing happened where I saw him leaving the cinema, and I thought I got to catch up with him. I don't think he's seen me. And as I walked over, the Tenebrae theme started playing over the sound system after we'd done an episode on it together. That's
that
weird. That is
is spooky, that.
weird. That's
Yeah,
very spooky, isn't it? And I remember
yeah.
like talking to him and going, am I going crazy, or is this the Tenebrae theme? And he was like literally trying to like compute it, and he was like, yeah, that's weird. It was very weird, and a moment that was gonna stick with me, I think. So yeah, um, brilliant. What else we got for horror news? So Hellraiser Resurrections is unleashing 5 brand new one-shot comics. This looks great. The art looks great. I'd take as much new Hellraiser as possible. Obviously, we're getting a game as well.
Mm.
Clive Barker's Hellraiser. Hellraiser Resurrections. There's going to be new wounds, the onanistic ritual. I may have said that wrong. The deep gospel, and Hell's Council, and the return of the priest. Oh, again, I didn't even plan this, Matt. I was talking about the Catholic Church and horror, but yeah, I think Hellraiser is ripe for the picking for new stories, right?
Absolutely, always. Um, I would prefer it to always have something to do with Barker and for
Mm.
it to always be Doug Bradley, but I will take any new Hellraiser
Yeah.
in any format, any media. It's
Y-
it's another one that I grew up with.
Yeah.
I remember I actually saw Hellraiser 2 before the first Hellraiser.
Okay.
And it, myself and my cousin sat watching it on an LSD trip, which you wouldn't imagine is the sort of thing
Oh my God.
you ought to do. But absolutely loved it. We were just sitting there laughing over. There's the bit where the young girl's having the dream sequence, and there's the clown juggling his own eyeballs. Oh, we were
Yeah.
screaming with laughter over it,
I'm glad that you had a laughter trip on LSD and not the other type.
and
Because
not a
what you could
bad
have
one,
done,
yeah.
you could have witnessed a murder by by a lizard in a woman's skin, and then and not remembered it, not recalled it properly. That could have happened. But yeah, any new Hellraiser for me is, I just feel like it's just one of those worlds, like the soundscape, like the visuals, like everything about it is kind of like it really does speak to me in terms of like what
Yeah,
horror really
same.
is. So
Do you know
yeah,
what I'd love to see? Did you ever read what's it called? The Scarlet Gospel?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
The So Barker came back to it about,
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah, of
say about
course.
10 years ago. It's probably longer.
I recognize the cover, but I've definitely not read that. No.
That's fantastic, and it fleshes out the idea of hell. So you've got, it turns out Leviathan, the Cenobite's hell, is just one part of the larger hell. So it's
Mm,
almost like a city within the full hell. So it's got the Inferno in there from Dante. It's
yeah.
got every iteration of hell imaginable is
Mm,
all in this one big world. It's an incredible book. I'd love to see that get adapted.
yeah. What's the last Clive Barker film he got adapted? Because there was a Books of Blood thing on Hulu, wasn't there? Which wasn't great. I don't know if you saw that.
There was, yeah, that could have been better.
Mm. Yeah, I did see that. I don't know if you saw this, the Leviathan Hellraiser documentary, the story of Hellraiser and Hellraiser
Yeah,
2. That was good, wasn't it? That was great.
yeah, that's wonderful.
Absolutely. To be fair, that's pretty much all I've got for horror news. It's been quite a quiet week. Oh, actually, I will mention one other thing because this is kind of horror, but it's also like horror adjacent. You could easily slap horror on this and it would count, but I don't think they're marketing it as that. But there's a trailer for the movie Whale Fall, which is based on a book. And Austin Abrams is in it as a diver who gets swallowed by a sperm whale, ends up in a sperm whale's stomach. It is a case of mistaken identity because I think the sperm whale's trying to eat a squid, and poor old Austin Abrams gets caught up. And I think they're sort of talking it like a survival thriller, like The Martian meets 127 hours.
Yeah.
But when I read the book, I was getting so many horror vibes from it. The novel by Daniel Kraus.
Hmm.
And I think it is considered a horror book. So again, strange that they've sort of pivoted, I guess, and made it more of a survival thriller. But the trailer's out now. There's a poster. I think it's releasing. It is releasing this year. Just give me some information October the 16th, 2026. It's arriving in theaters. They've obviously had to take some liberties in terms of like, if you were in a sperm whale stomach, you probably couldn't see anything, and there wouldn't be much room in there at all. So they've definitely made it like he's got some lights, the water, and he comes up to his neck. He'll be all right. He's in there. A true life Pinocchio story, I guess. But it looks good. I don't know if you've seen the trailer or if you knew anything about this,
I
Matt.
haven't. No, I knew nothing about it. But again, it sounds right up my street. I mean, it's basically based on a biblical story, Jonah and the whale.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll get onto that.
Yeah, it looks good. I like the look of it. Austin Abrams, Josh Brolin's in the cast as well. And you may say, well, how is a man getting swallowed by a whale? How's anybody else in it? There's a lot of flashbacks in terms of his relationship with his dad, and that kind of like shapes how he survives or
Very
attempts to
clever.
survive. He's kind of like, my dad taught me this about diving. Don't get swallowed by a sperm whale, etc. Yeah, but it's the director is, oh wait, another film that appeared on your list. Brian Duffield, who wrote No One Will Save You and Spontaneous, is co-writing the
Oh
screenplay with the
wow.
author. Yeah, yeah, and it is being. Let me see. I'm not sure it was being directed by. Actually, I may have missed that. Um, so yeah, this this looks great. I'm well up for this. No, he is the director. Yeah, Brian Duffield is the director. I think I
Fantastic.
misread then that he was just
Oh,
a
I'm
screenwriter.
definitely on board then because I
There we go.
absolutely adore Spontaneous.
Spontaneous is great as well. Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, so in terms of what we've been watching, is there anything for you, Matt, horror or horror adjacent that you've seen in the last couple of weeks that you wanted to recommend potentially? The new release, it can be an
I mean,
older film.
I always tend to come to new horror a few weeks after everyone else. I'm not the sort of
Yep.
person who goes to the cinema on opening night.
Yep.
So I've literally only just watched Obsession last week,
I see.
which everyone's of course been raving about for well over a month. At the moment, though, at home, I'm trying to work through every giallo ever made. So I'm trying to find all my blind spots.
Oh my
Yes, I'm
God.
doing it for another letterbox list. Um, I've gotten
Not.
through about 125,
Oh wow.
and one that I watched recently, which really really surprised me. It was called. What was it called? I've got it sitting here somewhere.
How are you? Is this research for a book or is it just a letterbox list? Because I feel like if
No,
you may be the
this
most
is.
completionist, Jallo completionist, the biggest Jallo completionist in history. If you get through them all.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am a bit neurodivergent, so
Mm.
I, I am a bit of a completionist with many things.
Yeah.
And it just occurred to me towards the end of last year. I was like, do you know what? I've probably only seen about 80 or 90
Mm.
Jolly, and that's probably about half of how many there are altogether. So let's go down the rabbit hole. Let's find as many as I can that I've not already seen.
Mm.
And one that I've seen very, very recently, which really blew me away, was it was called A Girl of Certain Complications, and it's by Damiano Damiani,
Okay.
who done a bunch of Italian stuff, but to UK and US viewers, he's most likely to be known as the director of Amityville 2: The Possession.
Oh, nice. And that one stood out to you. That not Amityville 2, the other one. Oh, sorry. What was it called? It was called A Girl of a Certain
A Girl of a Certain Complication.
Complication. Yeah, good title. We've covered a handful of Giallo films on this show, but I think we would like to get around to more. It's something where the tropes of those particular films are something that we really do enjoy.
Yeah, same. I love investigating the Jallo. I did a few months ago. I did a talk on Jallo at my local indie cinema, Cultplex in Manchester. That's now
Hmm.
become a series of talks because that one went so well.
Oh,
Had so
nice.
much fun talking about Jallo for an hour and a half to a captive audience.
Yeah. What is the next event? What is the next talk you've got then in terms of that
The
series?
next one for July is Summerween. It's a horror movie set during the summer months.
Oh, nice. And that is
We've
at the
had
Cultplex. They've got a
that's
film
a
festival there as well near the Cultplex. Is that where?
Yes, they do. They have Gasp Film Festival
Yeah, that's right.
in June, and then they have their own Halloween, not festival, but they have like their own Halloween season, which lasts kind of all of October and November, which
Mm.
is always fantastic. But I run what is called Cult School, which is once a month.
Oh, I see.
We talk about a different area of cult cinema. So began it with giallo. We've done one on video nasties. We've just gotten a guest speaker in called Nathan Lund to do one on kaiju this month,
Oh,
and then
lovely.
yeah, next month is Summerween. So I'm busy trying to find as many horror movies as I can that are set in the baking sun to talk about.
Yeah. A little sneak peek as to what any that you've chosen so far. I guess
Well,
Midsummer.
yeah, Midsummer will be in there. I suppose the obvious big ones, if I can call them that, the big three would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Jaws, and Hills Have Eyes from the
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
They kind of really kicked it off. And I dare say, there's going to be a fair amount of giallo and slasher in there as well, because so
Yeah.
many slasher movies set in like summer camps and what have you.
Oh, yeah, of
So
course.
there'll be a fair few of those in there as well.
Amazing. All sounds great, Matt. Unfortunately, I don't really have much to bring to the table in terms of what I've been watching this week. It's been a quiet week for me watching films. The World Cup has begun. I'm not the kind of person who goes, I'm going to watch every single match because some are at 2 a.m., some are at 5 a.m., and I'm not insane. But unfortunately, unfortunately, I've been watching most of them in the evenings, and I do feel a little bit bad that I'm like, I haven't watched any horror movies this week. Just don't feel myself, you know. So I'm going to have to get those numbers up by the end of this week. So I've got more to discuss next week. Okay, so let's jump into the main event. A film chosen, of course, by you, Matt, for this week's episode, and that is a film called "A Lizard in a Woman's Skin," which is a 1971 giallo film, co-written and directed by Lucio Fulci. Am I going to try and say the Italian? I mean, you've done some good Italian pronunciation so far, so I don't know. Did you want
I'm
to?
not going to do that one. I'm not touching that one. I'd have had to have practiced it,
Yeah, yeah.
and I haven't.
What this
Um,
happens on this show all the time, right? Where I end up trying to say something on this show when we're recording out loud for the first time, and I reckon 4 out of 5 times it's terrible. So I'm not going to attempt it either.
there are some that just roll off the tongue for me.
Yeah,
Don't torture a duckling is one. I can say non si servizio and paperino right off the
yeah,
top of my head. Whenever I like.
nailed it.
This one, no. I
No,
always call it lizard in a woman's skin, aka Carol in some territories, aka Schizoid for its
yeah, I
US
saw that
release.
Schizoid. It was called Carol in France. They got this film about a lizard in a woman's skin. French film distributors. What do you want to call it? Who's it about? Well, main character's called Carol. Carol, get it in the cinemas. And
That'll
then
do.
United States, it was re-released in the United States as Schizoid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit, a little bit inappropriate, isn't it? What's going on in this film then? Sounds like a Schizoid to me. Um,
It was another time. It was
it
another
was
time.
another time. It's 1971. Come on, let him off. So it stars Florinda Bolkan, Stanley Baker, Jean Sorel, Alberto de Mendoza, Silvia Monti, and in terms of the plot, the potentially unhinged daughter of a British politician is accused of killing her hedonistic neighbor after she witnesses the murder in a dream. In terms of ratings and reviews, so I've got a few choice reviews here and a few ratings. So IMDb 6.8 out of 10, Rotten Tomatoes 100%, critic score, wow, 70%
Nice.
audience score, Letterboxd 3.6 out of 5, and some choice reviews from Letterboxd. Ian West says Lucio Fulci's trippy dippy giallo opens with a ravishingly colourful sex dream on surrealistic pillows before delving into a cosmopolitan romp through psychosexual drug-fueled hippie madness. 5 stars. Matt Lynch says Fulci's masterpiece may be a perfect giallo sex panic phantasmagoria, classically prudent, terrified of female desire. Matt Lynch gives it 4 stars. Horror Syndrome says some women will sooner admit to having psychic premonitions than admit they like scissoring. three, 3 stars. What's happening in his dream? I think he might be a lesbian, love. No, 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 no. It's psychic premonitions. 3 stars. And then finally, Slig001 says a quaint English murder mystery wrapped up in psychedelia and psychoanalysis. 5 stars. I've struggled to really find many that were super negative about this film. I usually try and do like a couple of really positive ones, a couple of really negative ones, but it seems like a lot of people are loving it out there, especially on the letterbox community.
And they should. It's a fantastic movie. And just to say briefly, I know Slig. We follow each other.
Oh,
I
nice.
regularly
Oh, lovely.
read and like Slig's reviews, and they do the same with mine. So shout out to Slig
I'm
double
glad
zero
I
one.
chose that person's review then. Again, amazing. So yeah, let's talk about your introduction to this film and your relationship with this film, and I guess why you love it so much.
Sure. So, Lizard in a Woman's Skin is it's Fulci's second giallo after 1968's One on Top of the Other or Perversion Story. So that Perversion Story is the film that marks the beginning of Fulci's kind of second phase as a filmmaker, what he referred to as his genre terrorist phase.
Mm.
A real purple patch where he moved from genre to genre and just made banger after banger. Historical drama, gialli, spaghetti westerns, erotic satire, children's films, and they were all fantastic.
Mm.
Um, Perversion Story also saw Fulci become one of the first directors to move the giallo away from the basic concept that was started by Mario Bava in the early 60s. And
Mm.
that's what really drew me as an adult to Fulci's giallo films in particular.
Mm.
Um, as much as the likes of Dario Argento, Sergio Martino, and a handful of others, they all made fantastic gialli. They were all very much homogenous. They're all very much of the same template.
Mm.
Whereas Fulci was injecting, he wanted to make identity thrillers. He wanted to really up the nudity and sexual aspects and make them really erotic. He also wanted to make them very, very surreal. And this really called to me. So, yeah, this was his second Jello. Again, he wanted to do something different to what others were doing. By now, Dario Argento was on the scene, making classic thrillers like The Bird with the Crystal Plumage.
Mm.
But Fulci wasn't interested in what he saw as treading old ground. So instead, he made this surreal, psychedelic, and boldly erotic thriller about a supposedly repressed, well to do politician's daughter who may or may not have killed her hedonistic neighbour. Lots of kind of authorian cruelty in it, lots of dream logic, which I love films that incorporate dream logic.
Mm.
One of my favourite films ever made is David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. That's how much I love dream logic
Yeah, I
cinema.
mean, well, it was number one on your list of 100, wasn't it?
Certainly is. It swaps back and forth with Don't Torture a Duckling constantly. Um, so yeah, the surrealist and dream logic nature of it was what captured me originally, and then I returned to it in 2017 when I was researching Fulci's Inferno, and that's when I started to learn more about the little bits of Fulci that he'd imbued in there.
Mm. Yeah, and as I said, a first time watch for me, but um, I enjoyed it. I think the dream logic stuff is great. Again, I love these films when they're set in London as well. There's something I don't know what it is about that, but there's something quite quaint about it, and it's got like a murder mystery at the center of it, which is really interesting to unpack as well. Definitely much more different than a Lucio Fulci film that seen before. I wouldn't necessarily
Hmm.
watch this and think this is definitely a Fulci film. I can kind of see his style running through it. It is very, very different. But yeah, some interesting performances as well. And it's weird, isn't it? Because the cast is good. The cast is solid. There was some great tension as well. again, dream logic stuff is great, but some really, really insane visuals that kind of like in dreams and in reality, there's real like juxtaposition with some of these visuals as well. Yeah, I found it really, really engaging, and again, another good soundtrack, right?
Yeah, Ennio Morricone.
Ennio
Um,
Morricone, of course.
he's one time working with Fulci, and I'm so happy that they got to work together. Of course, Morricone, far more well known for the Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
He worked regularly with Argento. He worked with Elio Petri, Paolo
Mm.
Pasolini, and then a bunch of US directors in his later years, like Terrence Malick, Brian De Palma, and John Carpenter,
Oh yeah, John
doing that
Carpenter.
fantastic score for The Thing.
Yeah. The story of
Um,
like that score as well and how it came together is great, isn't it? And
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, wonderful that he got him for the film. The cast is fantastic. I mean, you've got some of the usual suspects of giallo in this
Mm.
film. So Anita Strindberg, Gene Sorel, Stanley Baker. They pop up all over the show in the Jolly world and usually acquit themselves very well as they do here. But for me, the big draw here is the lead, Florinda Bolkan,
Mm.
a Brazilian actor who just so happened to also be fluent in English, Italian, and French, as well as her native Portuguese.
Very
She
handy.
was, yeah, she was very much in demand across Europe. Now, in 1971, Balkan was coming off her supporting role in Elio Petri's The Investigation of a Citizen Above Suspicion, a film that won the Palme d'Or at Cannes
Oh
and
wow.
the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars.
I
So
see.
her star was at its absolute highest here. She
Yeah.
had a pick of who she wanted to work with, and she chose Fulci. The way Fulci tells it is that she'd been really impressed by Perversion Story, and that was what led her to want to work with him in this.
Mm.
She's incredible in this as this very kind of archetypal, sexually frustrated and culturally repressed woman. So a far cry from her role in Petri's film. And then, of course, she returned to play Matiara in Fulci's ultimate masterpiece, Don't Torture a Duckling, Non si Savizia and Paparino in 1972, which for me it's arguably the best role of any actor in any Fulci film.
Oh my God, wow. High praise indeed. And I guess her character, like, is we're kind of kept in the dark a lot in this film, aren't we?
Mm,
Which is really interesting, I feel like this could have easily sort of presented this story in a different way where we didn't necessarily we were more in tune of what was happening, but I feel like right up until that, like I was really leaning in for this final reveal, and obviously we are going to spoil the entirety of this film, but I was really leaning in for this final reveal, and I love that. I love that the central mystery is like I didn't when it was playing out, I'm not the kind of viewer anyway who watches a film and goes, I bet he did it, she did it, this happened, that
same.
happened. I don't like doing that. I kind of go,
Nah.
let this film tell me this and the reasons for the characters. And obviously, there are a couple of red herrings in there as well. Old red hair man also hunt down every ginger person in this city and question them. Well, it's a good job we don't live in Ireland. I mean, I was absolutely cracking up there. I mean, to be fair, a few moments that I was cracking up. I feel like there are obviously moments like that which are intentionally supposed to be pretty funny, but another few moments when I was laughing. Oh, I finally got away. I'm safe. Leans on organ. I was cracking up at that as
Yeah,
well.
she's not her cleverest in that church scene, is she?
No, she's not. But yeah, it was great. It was great. I enjoyed it. So in terms of, so we got Carol Hammond, the main character. She's the daughter of Edmund Brighton, a wealthy lawyer and politician, and the wife of Frank, a partner in Edmund's law firm. So they all live together in a large apartment in London. It's like Friends, isn't it? It's like Friends. They all live together. It's beautiful. Um, in London with Joan, who is Frank's teenage daughter from a previous marriage. And essentially, we open with a pretty crazy opening sequence, I guess, in general, but also for 1971, right?
Yeah, very much so. And I think That's probably why he had to set the film in England, because I think a lot of this wouldn't have flown
Mm,
in Italian locations, even though there was a lot of kind of swinging 60s stuff being directed in Italy. The fact that he goes so kind of balls to the wall surreal with this, you've got a huge amount of nudity right from the very first sequence. You've got this lesbian sex scene happening in the middle of this weird kind of surrealist neverwhere
mm,
that looks like everything and nothing at once.
yeah.
Really, really bold visuals, bold storytelling as well. If you consider that a lot of the Jolly at the time were very mechanical thrillers, they were often in the vein of kind of Agatha Christie type things, and instead Fulci has gone for this where it's the surrealist strokes, it's the dream logic, things like the way he positions art, works of art in the film, all kind of feeds into
Mm.
the to uncovering the mystery as well. Really, really clever piece of filmmaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And couple of people with lovely milky eyes. He loves milky eyes. That we,
Oh, he does, don't he? He loves making people wear those horrible thick glass contact
yeah,
lenses.
get these contacts on. It's fine. Yeah, and obviously she's wearing a fur coat in the dreams, making her way for it. There's loads of like really those sort of like really those cuts, those super fast cuts of her like in some weird hallway, like jumping down, like there's like a little bit of a drop, and there's like all these different shots of her. It's I'm probably describing it in the worst possible way, but yeah, it's insane. But so it's her neighbor, next door neighbor, Julia Dura, who hosts raucous drug fueled parties in her apartment, even when everyone's literally like, "What is going on up there? What is going on?" Everyone sounds naked up there. I don't know what's happening. Um, but yeah, and what I guess without spoiling it right now, where do you think this is? It sexual frustration from our main character Carol at this point that is sort of already weaved into it, or is it sexual
Yes.
frustration? I feel like sexual frustration, but I also feel like frustration for not living a life that somebody else perhaps is that more kind of that a freer life, I guess, where she the life she lives is quite regimented. She's surrounded by very serious people. You know, she's the daughter of a wealthy lawyer and a politician. Um, is it that?
I think you've hit the nail bang on the head there. Yes, it's sexual frustration, and yes, there's a whole lot of jealousy mixed in there because this neighbour, Julia, is living a life that Carol can only really dream of. Literally, can only dream of.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, Carol lives in a very serious world with a very serious family, and she's expected to behave in a very serious way.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, across the hallway, you've got this woman who is beautiful, always naked, always having these sex and drug fueled orgies with her lovers and friends, basically living the life of an absolute hedonist, something
Yeah.
that Carol cannot do.
No. She can't do, and I guess she like longs to, even
Yeah.
like on some level, whether it's like a sort of deeper level, or she genuinely does. Also, keep it down for God's sake. I know
Uh,
you love drugs and know you love nudity and stuff, but can you just keep it down for 5 minutes? I'm embarrassed in here with my family trying to explain to them what's going on across the way. Is it above or is it next door? I can't remember.
it's across the way.
It's across the way, yeah. Um, so in terms of like the visuals of like in the dreams, obviously the fur coat, and then later on we get the in another one of the dreams we get some. Wait, what are they? Fox, foxes? No,
Dogs.
dogs. It's just dogs, isn't it? Dogs
Yeah.
being vivid. Yeah, yeah. So they're
Yeah,
being
it's vivisection, isn't it?
vivisected. Yeah. So what does all that stuff represent? Do you think?
Well,
You
there's
know.
there's two ways we can attack this one.
Okay.
There is a very particular visual style to this film, and it has to do with artwork.
Hmm.
So a number of the of Fulci's tableau in the film are kind of very reminiscent of the paintings of Francis Bacon.
Mm.
This is then confirmed by the existence of the very same paintings in Julia's apartment.
Mm.
So they've made it into the film's art direction. They adorn the walls of this lavish abode, and they're placed there to haunt and affect not only Julia but the audience as well. And of course, these are Francis Bacon's vivisection paintings.
Mm.
So
Oh,
this
of
is,
course, yeah.
yeah. So when Carol has her dream and sees this vivisection tableau with these dogs flayed open, what
Mm.
Fulci's telling us here is, yeah, Carol has been in Julia's apartment, and yes, she's seen the Francis Bacon painting, she's seen the vivisection paintings, and that's why it's showing up in her dream. Now,
Yeah.
there's another thing that I love to talk about with this scene in particular. Lizard in a Woman's Skin got its director into some quite serious trouble upon release in Italy,
Okay.
thanks to this particular sequence. So Fulci collaborated with Carlo Rambaldi, a special effects genius who would go
Mm.
on to win 3 Oscars for films that I won't mention yet because it's funnier to drop it in at the end.
Okay.
Rambaldi created various different effects for the film, and the main one, the most shocking one, is this scene in question, a dream sequence that sees Carol in a sanatorium where she happens upon this room where this cruel and bizarre vivisection experiment's taking place. These apparently live dogs hanging from laboratory apparatus, their torsos flayed open, hearts still pumping blood through various tubes and what have you. Fulci said of the scene, I just wanted a shocking scene, something completely foreign to the story, but that could equally, given in that specific sequence the tension was already high, impose something on the audience.
Sure.
And it did. So much so that the Italian Society for the Protection of Animals pressed charges against Fulci and Rambaldi because they believed that they'd actually tortured live dogs
Oh
for the
my
film
God.
effects. So Fulci was facing up to 2 years in prison. He was tried in court and subject to lots of media attention. Luckily for Fulci, Rambaldi had saved one of the mechanical dogs.
Gonna say.
So he dug it out and brought it into the courtroom to prove that they were not, in fact, live animals. Fulci was off the hook. For now, the courtrooms of Italy would become familiar to the director over the next few films that he
Yeah.
made. But yeah, this sequence really marks the first of many infamously gory transgressions for Fulci. And he would really gain a taste for these grisly delights that would populate much of his subsequent filmography. Now, what really tickles me, and this is why I've saved this bit, what
Okay.
really tickles me is that Carlo Rambaldi, the special effects guy who almost got his director sent to prison for flaying supposedly live dogs, is the same man who would go on to win 3 Oscars, one of which was for creating Steven Spielberg's E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Little E.T.
Little E.T. was
Right.
created by the same man who flayed these
Played
dogs.
the dogs. If anything, that is you should take it as a compliment. The fact that they've gone, these look so real. And I like you
Yeah.
like he just saved one as well. Like the other ones, he just committed to threw him in a skip or incinerated them or something. I've still got one. It's fine. Oh my God.
Yeah, thankfully he kept one, or Fulci would have spent the next 2 years
Yeah,
in jail.
what would have happened? I guess if he didn't keep one, they would have just sent
He'd
him
have gone
down.
to prison. Yeah,
He'd have gone to
he was
prison.
seriously looking at 2 years of jail time. 2 years of jail time would have been what, through to the end of 1973. We'd have missed out on some of Fulci's greatest
Yeah,
films.
God.
We'd have missed out on The Eroticist, his
Mm.
fantastic political satire. We'd have missed out on Don't Torture a Duckling. We'd have missed out on White Fang because he'd have been banged up.
You'd have been banged up. What are you in for? Well, I've got 4 dogs. Vivisected 4 dogs. And people will stay away from him inside. There's the bloody
Wouldn't
dog
there?
vivisector
Yeah.
over there.
I like
Stay
ripping
away.
dogs apart.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
Rambaldi went on to win Oscars for John Guillermin's King Kong in 1976. Ridley Scott's Alien in 1979. So he built the alien from
Oh my
H.R.
God.
Giger's designs, and then Steven Spielberg's E.T. in 1982.
Bloody hell. Well, there we go. He's clearly he's everyone. If everyone believed they were real dogs, everyone else believed it was a xenomorph, and everyone else believed E.T. was a real little fella with a glowing finger.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so next up in the film, after we've seen all the sexy dreams, in her engaging in sexual activities with Julia, we step out of the dream into the real world, and while in his office with Frank, Edmund receives a call from an anonymous woman claiming she has damaging information about his family. He then asks Frank if he's cheating on Carol, and I don't know. I don't entirely believe his reaction. He's too. He's too. No. Why on earth would you ask that? What a ridiculous question to ask. He denies it, of course. But unknown to everyone else, Frank is indeed having an affair with his personal secretary, Deborah. And again, like, is this something where is part of this reason why Carol's feeling like this is because she knows? Because there is a little bit later on where she says, "Are you hiding something from me?" Doesn't she?
I would imagine so, yeah. I mean, at the time, the idea of Italian men having extramarital affairs was not something new.
Mm.
It was something that was almost culturally accepted. There was a lot of Italian men
Yeah.
who did get married, and then a couple of years later they'd have a girlfriend, and not just someone who they sleep with and then never see again. They had long-term girlfriends as well as wives.
Mm.
So I imagine, I mean, these women aren't stupid.
No.
You know, if your man's spending a lot of time away from home, and maybe he's not coming back home to you completely sexually ravenous, then you
Mm.
can hazard a guess that he might have a piece on the side.
Oh, I'm too tired, I'm afraid. I couldn't possibly. This
I've got a
isn't normal.
headache.
I've got a headache. Yeah, so yeah, it appears that like obviously this is you could read into it, Carol possibly aware that this affair is happening. That in a sense is maybe causing these sexual feelings and sexual frustrations to come out further and stronger. But again, at this point, we only kind of feel like they're fantasies or dreams until obviously the dreams go a little bit south. What did you have a dream about last night? Well, I had a lovely bit of sex with Julia from next door. What do you have a dream about the next night? I've only gone and done her in, in the dream. So yeah, so she's going to a doctor, isn't she? She's going to a psychiatrist, talk about her
Yes.
dreams. Doctor Care, his name is, and how would you say he's approaching his treatment of Carol?
Not very well.
No.
Um, and this is something that is, again, this is very much born of Fulci's real life beliefs. So despite using a lot of Freudian psychoanalysis and a lot of kind of Freudian aspects in his surrealist tendencies,
Hmm.
Fulci hated psychoanalysis, and he hated Freud in particular. He considered him a fraud. And what he
Okay.
basically said was that psychoanalysis is just Catholic confession repackaged.
I see. Okay.
Because, of course, Fulci grew up Catholic,
Mm.
and so he would see psychoanalysis as basically old hat. It's something the Catholics have been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Mm.
So in Fulci's films, you can never quite trust a psychoanalyst,
Mm.
and it's the same from here right the way through to A Cat in the Brain in 1991,
Mm.
where it's Fulci's own psychiatrist who's tricking him into thinking that he's going around killing all these people.
Mm.
You can never trust a psychiatrist in a Fulci film.
No. No. Never ever. Definitely don't. But yeah, it being sort of like the repackaged stuff from like Roman Catholic is interesting as well. And again, something that's obviously a through line through not just this film but Fulci's films in general. Um, So yeah, she recounts her latest dream to Kerr, which is her stabbing Julia to death with a paper knife. That's a knife that cuts paper, not a knife made of paper. If you may be confused, because maybe I was. Uh, I'm just really good at origami, all right? I've made a perfectly sharp blade to murder this woman. I was a bit disappointed. I was like, Carol's having a whale of a time with Julia in these dreams. No, she's only gone and ruined it. She's gone and killed her. Um, and after killing her, she notices a hippie couple who have seemingly witnessed the murder from a mezzanine. A couple with milky eyes, and we later find out what that represents. Of course, that they're not seeing life perhaps as clearly as they could be. Maybe something similar to you, Matt, watching Hellraiser 2
Or is it two?
with milky
Definitely
eyes.
something
With
similar.
milky eyes, your eyes are ever so milky, Matt. Are you enjoying Hellraiser 2? Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. And then the following day, Carol is shocked to learn that Julia has indeed been found murdered in her apartment in exactly the same way it happened in Carol's dream, including the fur coat and the paper knife. They've both been
Yep.
left at the scene, isn't it? And then we get
Yeah,
in. Sorry, carry on, Matt. Go
I
on.
was going to say, yep, and it's looking like Carol is down for the count. It's looking very much like she's going to go to prison
I
for
feel
this
like
murder.
this is a perfect instance of the lady doth protest too much because her reaction to did you know Carol? No, I never had anything to do with her. I never even seen her or met her before in my life. Who's Carol? Sorry, not Carol, Julia. Who's Julia? Never heard of her. Julia, next door. No, don't know what you mean. And
What's a woman?
yeah, yeah. If I was Inspector Corvin from Scotland Yard, who's been leading the investigation, I would immediately go, hang on a minute, Carol, something's wrong. Something ain't up. Something ain't right because you're too. And it's almost like this denial is almost performative for those around her rather than for her, isn't it? It's almost like that thing of oh, I'd absolutely never be involved with someone like that, let alone kill them. Like it's almost like separating herself from that person. But in a way, by her doing that, it just shows that there is obviously some sort of strong emotion linked to Julia for one reason or another.
Yeah, but then you could. I mean, this is a very cunning way to kind of bait and switch the audience because on one hand, yeah, you've got Carol really over egging her apparent innocence.
Mm,
But then we already know that Carol's been having these dreams about Julia.
mm.
Dreams where she's been having sex with her, and then a dream where she's murdered her. So, that, of course, is going to spark a tremendous amount of embarrassment and guilt in you. If you have a
Yeah,
dream about murdering someone and then the following morning you find out they've been killed,
yeah.
it's going to freak you out.
Especially if it's the
And so,
same
to
in
me,
the
that
same
kind
way.
of almost reinforces her innocence.
Oh, okay, I see. Um, so yeah, and did you talk about Inspector Corvin, like his place in this film, I guess.
Well, I mean, this is probably one of the very few tropes of the giallo that Fulci did adopt, and that
Mm.
is the police are absolutely fucking useless. They do a lot of talking, a lot of second guessing,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but
there's loads of that, isn't
ultimately,
there?
it's never the cop that finds out what's actually happened, and it never will be because they're either bumbling or corrupt, or sometimes both.
Yeah, bumbling, corrupt, or they get embroiled in some sort of scheme or some sort of sexual thing with one of the characters. That tends to be a bit
Yep.
of a trope, isn't it? Um, yeah. So obviously, Carol struggling with this is again at this point we believe this is just some weird coincidence, some sick coincidence that Carol could possibly isn't obviously anything to do with this, and the two hippies from her dream are the two who are responsible. But and to be fair, they don't do a lot to to kind of as a red herring in a film. They don't do a lot to make you think it's not them because you're like, well, I mean, these two are nuts.
Yeah, for sure. And again, very clever the way Fulci sets this up because you've got this pair who Carol does see in her dream,
Yeah,
in the dream in which she murders Julia, and then when she sees them outside in the real world, they profess to not recognizing her. Well, of
Mm.
course they wouldn't. They were tripping balls.
Yeah,
They
they're
were
tripping
completely
absolute
off,
balls.
completely off their heads on LSD.
Mm.
So any memory they might have of that scenario is not going to just immediately pop into their head crystal
Mm.
clear. So they're they're a quite genuine red herring because everything they're saying they believe to be true. So
Yeah,
when they don't think they recognize her, it's likely because they don't recognize her. And then when they later turn a bit more sinister and start coming after Carol, well,
yeah,
that's because their memory's returned, hasn't it?
yeah,
And
of
so
course.
they're aware that well, let's spoil it. They're aware that she is indeed the one that killed Julia. I mean, come on, folks, you've had since 1971.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hang on a minute, what? Yeah. So, but to be fair, the evidence against Carol is mounting more and more, isn't it? Because there's fingerprints which match those found on the
Yeah,
fur
on the
coat and the
coat.
paper knife.
Yeah.
Um, and when they question the hippies, well, I'm just calling them the hippies. What are their names? Uh,
They don't have names. They are just
oh, they don't.
hippies.
They are
Yeah,
just the hippies.
male hippie and female hippie.
Ginger hippie and female hippie. I didn't think he was ginger at all in this film. Maybe it's just the color grade in this film, but I was like, it was the ginger guy they're talking about. Oh, it's him. Okay, I got you. I got you. And again, when he first gets questioned, I mean, if I was a police officer, bumbling or not, I probably would go, definitely him.
Yeah.
It's definitely him. He's pretty much convinced. He's like, it's almost a confession, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I would as well. If I was one of these bumbling
Oh,
investigators, I would be quite happy to take his confession.
case closed.
Right, case closed.
And he's been in that apartment before as well, like, and so has
Yep.
his partner. So it's not like it's too ridiculous, is it? But after this evidence mounts up, that is when Carol gets arrested, and charged with the murder. But Corvin second guesses whether Carol is really the killer, as she had described the murder scenario to Dr. Kerr before it actually took place, which is weird. As Carol is awaiting trial at a maximum security sanatorium, this is when the male hippie breaks in, and
Yes.
chases her through the grounds. Um, are we? We're not aware it's him first off, though, are we? Is that when he's got the helmet on, or is that later?
I think that's later.
That's later, yeah. So he breaks in, chases her through the grounds, and that is where she escapes into a room where the four live dogs, as previously mentioned, are being vivisected, causing her to faint. I mean, it would make you faint, wouldn't it? I
Oh,
can't
at the very
imagine.
least.
At the very least,
Yeah.
yeah. If you're being chased around anywhere, do you feel like this whole sequence is a dream?
Yes,
Everything,
absolutely.
everything.
Everything's just so out of left field in it. It
Yeah.
feels like some kind of hallucinatory nightmare. I think it's one of his dream sequences.
It's because when she comes to, the intruder is not there as well.
Yeah,
So that wouldn't make sense really. Like if someone was after her and then got her and she was unconscious, he would have done what he was going to do, whether it was murder her or anything else.
absolutely. Yeah.
So the fact that he's not there does make you kind of think it's definitely a dream, in that section. So meanwhile, we've got Edmund, eager to exonerate Carol, discovers, there's a few discoveries to be made throughout this film, but discovers that
Mm.
Julia has been blackmailing Frank for money as not to expose his affair with Deborah. Right. Bloody hell. And while Frank worries about being named as a suspect, Edmund gets Carol released on bail. So it's all very complicated in terms of these relationships of all these characters.
Yeah. This is if there was a part where the film falls down, to me,
Okay.
this would be it. And this is where it kind of regresses into those familiar giallo tropes of an overly complex plot that doesn't always make
Sure.
sense. All of a sudden, all of the characters in this film are kind of intertwined
Hmm.
in a way that you just wouldn't expect to have happen.
Yeah.
Julia's blackmailing Frank. to not expose his affair with Deborah, but then, as we will find out, Julia and Carol have been having a sexual affair.
Yeah, of course.
It's the For me, it's a step too far.
Mm.
I think it messes with what are otherwise perfect mechanics in this giallo plot. To me, this bit's a step too far. If I was going to criticise any part of the movie, it would be this.
I suppose if one of these characters ended up being more involved in the main crime of the film, it might have made a bit more sense. You
Yeah,
know, if, for example, Julia was blackmailing Frank, you know, to try and, for some reason, to try and put the heat elsewhere than on her. I don't know, something like that. But the fact that it doesn't, it almost does feel like an unnecessary subplot, I guess.
it does, which is a surprise for Fulci. So he co-wrote this with his regular writing partner Roberto Gianviti,
Mm.
who together they wrote some of Fulci's very best films, from Beatrice Cenci through to Don't Torture a Duckling. And they're also incredibly well plotted. I mean, Beatrice Cenci is a non-linear
Mm.
film, done with a really interesting conceit. Each timeline is based around a different moment of cruelty in the central character's life.
Mm.
Don't Torture a Duckling works on a political level as well as on a murder mystery level, as well as on a kind of discussion about old religion and new religion. So it does surprise me for this that Fulci and Gianviti get kind of they almost seem to be caught up in their own plot mechanics
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it is a part which I'm not necessarily interested in the film, but sometimes films like this try to keep us engaged with as many characters as possible, especially when there's a bit of a mystery at the center, almost so that when one character or another is revealed, there's still that expectation that it could have been somebody else, you know? If these characters didn't have anything else going on and like, oh, it was one of them, we're a bit like, so what? Whereas if there's a little bit more going on, maybe we're a bit more shocked. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose it gives Frank a bit more motive, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, of course. Um, so yeah,
but yeah, it's a minor quibble on my part.
yeah,
It
of
really
course, of
is.
course. It's just one of those things that, yeah, that comes to, especially with a film with so many characters, you know, sometimes when a film does introduce so many characters, it is almost a bit of a minefield as to know what to get them all to do at
Yeah,
any one chance, especially with the fact that we're only really interested in Carol and I guess the hippie characters as well, like their place in it. At this point. So it does almost feel like, you know, when you're watching a movie or a TV show, for example, where there's probably like three or four plots happening at once. There's always a plot where you just like, I can't wait to get back to that. Forget all this.
yeah.
I can't wait to get back to that. That's all we're interested in. So it does feel a bit like that. So at Edmund's country estate, Carol gets contacted by the female hippie and agrees to meet at Alexandra Palace. This is when she's out riding a horse, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Bring 20 quid. What? Excuse me? That's one part of this I don't quite get. 20 what's the 20 quid going to be for? I don't get it. 20 quid gets brought up a few times, doesn't it? Someone else goes, oh, I've got 20 quid for you here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Given the state of the Italian lira,
Oh, okay.
20 quid will have been about 20 grand in Italy at the time. So maybe they felt like it was a significant amount of money.
Yeah. Oh, it's almost like 20 quid is like the secret to everything. Like, oh, I want to know this piece of information. I'll never tell. Well, what about for 20 quid?
Oh,
Wow,
all
bloody
right then.
hell. Come on then. Yeah, it's all good. There's a few bits I like in this scene. The way Carol like goes to when she walks away. So the female hippie walks away and says, "Meet me here at the Alexandra Palace.
Mm.
Remember, bring 20 quid at the Alexandra Palace. Remember." And then turns around again and says, 20 quid or something like that. She says, Carol, there's a really interesting part where Carol like goes to call after her, goes to say something. And it's really interesting. I love it when those sort of things happen in a performance. It's like what someone doesn't say, because then I'm going, well, why didn't they say what they wanted to say? What did they want to say? So again,
Yeah,
that really hammered it home, especially when, as I said, the big reveal. Moments like that really fleshed it out for me, where I was a bit like, she's not said something there, because it's almost like she's saying, well, what information could you possibly have from me? Because I'm the one who did this. I know.
yeah.
So what deal are you going to try and make with me? It doesn't make sense. Um, yeah. So I don't know what you think of this particular interaction.
Yeah, I think it's a masterstroke of Florinda Bolkan's performance. The fact
Mm,
that she can hook us in, not with a line reading, but with a line that isn't read.
yeah.
The fact that she can hook us in and get us wondering about something left unsaid.
Mm,
A fantastic actor, Florinda.
absolutely.
Really, really is.
Does a female hippie kiss the horse as well? Did I imagine that? Did she kiss the horse? Maybe she did.
Yeah,
Or is she just holding it close? Yeah, I don't know. Trying to sort of like bring Carol's guard down a little bit, isn't she? But at Alexandra Palace, that is when Carol gets attacked by the male hippie in the cellar, and we get a good chase sequence as well, with bats as well. We get a nice rubbery bat sequence.
yeah. Not Carlo Rambaldi's best work.
No.
Not quite as realistic as the dogs.
What? So the animal charity weren't unhappy about the bats. They were like, these bats are
No.
getting killed as well.
Funnily enough, they didn't say a thing about the
No,
bats.
didn't care about the bats. And yeah, the hippie, he's like dressed. He's got like a sort of like bike helmet on and levers, and again, fill in the blanks for me just in case I've got that wrong. That's what I remember. And
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
chasing after her, and yeah, Carol thinks she gets away. And the moment, as we previously mentioned, she leans on the organ, um, and the organ happens to play a nice big part of the soundtrack as well when she when she does it. Shut up, organ! Only lent on you for a second. What are you doing? Um, but I like that. I think this chase sequence is really good because there's a lot of like kind of silly moments and also like mistakes from both people involved. Like it feels more real, tripping up the stairs. The
Yeah.
the the hippie guy like trips up the stairs when he's coming for her as well. And he manages to get to her on the roof, which is when the police arrive. Um, is it explained why the police are there?
I don't recall.
No, I was just
I
wondering if.
recall being very surprised when he's just about to get her. He's cornered her on the roof, and
Yeah.
then he suddenly gets shot. Um, I I really loved this sequence, and one of the reasons is because in all of London, Fulci managed to find a Roman Catholic church, a,
Yeah.
a desolate, disused Roman Catholic church in a city that is basically C of E. It's full of Anglican churches.
Mm.
He managed to find a disused Roman Catholic church, and it is the only even hint of anything to do with Catholicism in the entirety of this film, because
Wow.
he couldn't go a whole film without having something Catholic in there.
No. Just one little thing. I mean,
Yeah,
respect his the way he didn't put more in, I guess. But yeah, great work. And it is a great sequence. It is a great sequence. And the way he kind of like runs away and then like drives off on his is he on a motorbike? He is on a motorbike, isn't he? Oh,
yes,
the old hippie. And this is when the police say about about basically we gotta get him and question every ginger person. Is that when they say this? It is when they say this, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
Are you supposed as his colleague? Are you supposed to take that seriously? Because I'd be like, it's crazy. That's gonna take forever.
It it feels like a very tongue-in-cheek line,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which there frequently were in
Because they know
Jelly.
who he is anyway. They've already questioned him.
Yeah,
It's not a case of they're trying to find him now. Um, but yeah, so he flees. Later, Joan asks the hippie woman about the male hippie's whereabouts. This is when she comes in and she's doing a bit of painting, right?
yes,
And a
yeah,
good
that's
a good
right.
visual with the it is a knife, isn't it, covered in the red paint?
Uh huh.
Yeah, good visual. Then she lobs it at the canvas with the blue paint as well. Um, so essentially, Joan is hoping he will give her any information that could exonerate Frank. That's what it says here, right? Because Frank had
Yes,
been worried about being named as a suspect.
yeah, very much so. And this scene with Joan with the paint and the canvas, again it comes back to this through line right the way through this film, through a number of Fulci's films, but it started here where painting and art is very much key.
Yeah.
And where this comes from is prior to becoming a filmmaker, Fulci was actually an art critic in Rome of some repute.
Oh, okay.
And so later on in his career, he started finding ways to bring elements of his old profession and bring ideas and motifs from specific art movements into his films. He would do it in The Psychic, where there was a facsimile copy of Jan Vermeer's The Love Letter.
Mm.
Now that's very much key because Vermeer would place art within his art, so he'd put paintings on the walls of his paintings, and those paintings on the walls would be key to unlocking what the painting is
Ah,
about.
okay.
And so that's what Fulci started to do. He would put artwork and paintings in his films that were key to unlocking the plot. And this is the first film where he starts playing with this motif that then goes on through, yeah, The Psychic, and then through all of his Gates of Hell movies,
Yeah.
The Beyond, the painting that the
Yeah.
Warlock did in Beyond ends up being key to the whole thing.
Mm.
Really, really clever motif for Fulci to adopt.
Absolutely. But yeah, then the next day, unfortunately, poor old Joan is found murdered.
She's a goner.
She's a goner, murdered in a field. Um, I don't know what I thought at this moment. I was a bit like, well, I just kept thinking if there was a central mystery to it, whoever killed Julia has now killed Joan, is what I thought. But again, we're spoiling everything. It is the hippies who kill her, right? Because they admit to it.
Yes.
Yeah. Why do
Yeah.
we think they did that?
I mean, they're not. I mean, they are still ne'er do wells. They
Yeah.
might not be the ones that killed
Okay.
Julia. That they're trying to kill Carol.
Mm.
So yeah, it kind of makes some sense that they would kill people around her as well. Um,
To protect themselves in terms of
Maybe.
maybe, yeah, because it feels almost like they're making it worse for themselves. Sometimes
Yeah.
you didn't do this murder, guys. You didn't. There's no need to now kill everyone else. Um,
Although, I mean, maybe it is just a way to like really kind of reinforce them as a red herring.
yeah, to really reel us in, isn't it? Yeah. So Corvin, the police guy, questions Carol about the phone call that Edmund received from Julia. So we call back to that. And Carol admits that she learned about the call from Edmund, but is unsure whether Frank is aware of it. And this is when Corvin tracks down and arrests the hippie couple. Oh, we do have names. Hubert and Jenny.
Well, there you go.
Well, there we go. Exactly.
My mind has erased those
That is
names.
three female characters with J. Julia, Joan, and now Jenny. Not confusing at all for anyone involved. So this is when Hubert admits to stalking Carol and murdering Joan. Listen, all right, I've stalked Carol. Yes, you got me. Guilty. Murdered Joan as well. But there is no way that I was anything to do with the murder of Julia. What? We killed someone. So there we go. There we go. And this is when we start to hear about the LSD trip, isn't it? Um,
Yes,
oh, I don't know if do they say that they were tripping at this point? I think they do.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they do.
Uh,
Um, and it does it makes a lot of sense as
mm,
to their behaviour. One because they really come across as like perennial stoners. They're constantly tripping out.
mm,
They probably spend more time high than they do straight.
yeah.
And they've been off their faces on LSD right during the pivotal moment that leads to this entire plot.
Yeah.
Except, of course, For what did they see? They saw a lizard in a woman's
A
skin.
lizard in a woman's skin, like that. That the wording of that, and without needing to see anything, you know. I know they're tripping, so obviously they're not seeing exactly what they're seeing. But how do you feel like those? Why do you feel like those words are A, the title, and B, used in such a sense? Like for me, someone who hasn't seen this film before, it describes how she moves and maybe the way the murder was committed in this otherworldly, weird way that I don't need to see anything. Seeing something, in a sense, would probably make it less creepy than it is. Just those words, "a lizard in a woman's skin," for me, is quite chilling in itself.
Yeah. So two things here. Yes, it does. It describes the way she was moving, but also if you think reptiles in the Old Testament of the Bible, very often associated with Satan,
Mm.
very often associated with evil. So a lizard in a woman's skin is a woman who is evil on the inside. In terms of why it became the title of the movie, so this is all down to Fulci's producer, Edmondo Amati.
Okay.
And unfortunately, Fulci is on the receiving end of some finger pointing over this. A number of people have said that he was trying to rip off Dario Argento because, of course, Argento had his Animals trilogy, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Cat o' Nine Tails, and Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
Mm.
And then Fulci releases a film called Lizard in a Woman's Skin that is based off a seemingly throwaway line in the film, but it's got an animal in the title. So it's clearly trying to riff on Argento. Well,
Mm.
it wasn't Fulci at all. It was his producer that decided on the name for the film, as was the case with many of Fulci's films. For instance, Don't Torture a Duckling, Fulci always referred to it as Long Night of Exorcism.
Mm.
That was his title for the film, and that was what he always wanted to call the film. But the producer said, no, let's stick an animal in the title, and that'll make it a successful giallo.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened here as well. Edmondo Amati has definitely seen the success that Dario Argento has been having and has gone, okay, well, if we put an animal in the title of this as well, then everybody who loved Argento's films will come and see our film.
Mm. Yeah. It is a great title, isn't it? I think
It's a
it is.
fantastic
Was there
title.
was there a working title? I know we've talked about like the what it was called in France, Carol, United States, Schizoid. Was there a working title before this, or was this always kind of like the title, I guess?
I don't know.
Mm.
Um, I'm not sure what the working title would have been when Fulci and Gianviti were coming up with the screenplay. There's every chance that there was a different working title. Again, this happened constantly, but I'm not certain in this particular case.
Mm.
But
Okay.
it happened right across Fulci's career.
Sure.
Zombie Flesh Eaters or Zombie 2, the actual
Yeah.
screenplay was called Nightmare Island.
Yeah.
Nothing like what it ended up being
No.
called when it was released. This would happen many, many times
Yeah.
across Fulci's films.
Sure. So what's next? Corvin is informed that Edmund has killed himself at his estate, leaving a note confessing to Julia's murder. Um, so yeah, what does this mean to the plot? This was a real like left. This came out of left field for me. I was a bit like, okay.
Yeah, another, I don't know, twist too far, maybe? Um,
Because are we meant to think that Carol's killed him?
that's my assumption.
That's the assumption I made. Yeah, that Carol's
Yeah,
killed him, left the note confessing
to
to
try and
Julia's
make it look
murder.
like suicide
Yeah,
and thus distance herself from Julia's murder.
yeah, yeah. And then at Edmund's grave, this final scene. This is the this is the Columbo explaining everything.
Yeah,
This is the Jonathan Creek. This we always mention Jonathan Creek on this show. The Jonathan Creek explaining to everyone what really happened scene, which I love. I love that stuff. Especially when it's something that you literally, because at this point, first time viewer me didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I had a bit of an inkling, I think, but I didn't really know. So again, despite the fact there's a bumbling police officer, kind of interesting that he does manage to unpick this particular mystery, right?
Suddenly, in the final
Suddenly,
sequence of the movie,
I've had a
suddenly
brainwave.
he's clued in on everything that's been going on.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about this particular reveal, Matt.
Yeah, so the police inspector asserts Carol's guilt. He seems to know that she was with Julia on the day that the phone call was made.
Mm.
So after Julia's threatened to expose their affair, that's when Carol killed her. Killed her that night, fabricated her own nightmares to her doctor, hoping that she could plead temporary insanity and avoid prison that way. And then, of course, later she was fearful that the hippies would identify her. She wasn't expecting the hippies to be in the apartment when she
No.
entered, although she didn't know that they were high on LSD and unable to
Oh.
properly recognize her.
Well, she didn't, but I guess like she must have known to a degree that they weren't in a position to fully be aware of what was happening because in her even in her, well, I was going to say even in her dreams, but the dreams are fabricated, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, the
And there
dreams
we
aren't
go. So
real.
even me at this stage getting drawn in by these dreams. Well, she had a dream when I had milky eyes. So really, no, that was all fabricated.
Yeah,
Like
all
that was obviously
fabricated by her.
almost like that fabrication. If that was the way she described that dream to Doctor Kerr, maybe that's like what she was wishing. They had milky eyes. She was wishing that they hadn't seen what they'd seen. So in a way, her description of that dream was what she really wanted it to be happening. Luckily, they're wearing
Maybe.
these massively thick contact lenses, so they can't see what's going on. But
Yeah, it could very well be. I mean, you do have that sequence where she first sees them in the outside world,
yeah,
and she wants to know if they recognize her, and
yeah,
that feels very genuine on her part. That feels like real anxiety on her part
mm,
because she suddenly recognized them. Those are
yeah.
the people that were in the apartment,
It
but I
frames
don't
the
know whether they recognize me or not.
yeah. It frames the film so differently. Like it's the kind of film which would really benefit from a second watch now that you know, like well, obviously for you, a person who's seen the film multiple times, watching it while knowing that Carol is guilty is a completely different experience, I guess, to watching it for the first time and not knowing and probably not wanting her to have been responsible.
It is, yeah. Because you do the first time you watch it, you're so invested in Carol. You don't want her to turn out to be the killer. You want one of these what turn out to be red herrings to actually make sense and be the killer, or
Mm.
you want it to do the usual Jallo thing where it is the most minor character ever who you would never have suspected
Yeah,
suddenly comes up with a reason for why they did it. But it turns out to be her. What's really, really interesting in follow-up viewings is not just watching it knowing that she's guilty, it's watching it knowing that she's fabricated those dream sequences. So
mm,
knowing that when you're watching these dreams, you you can't trust them, but you kind of can because these are the dreams that are giving you clues as to what's really happened if
mm.
you're in on it.
Yeah,
And that's when the dream mechanics of it all really start to make sense. But as you said yourself, you had an inkling on that first
yeah,
viewing. And certainly, Fulci's intention was that the clues that were in those dreams and the clues that were in the placing of artwork are all there to kind of try and lead you to that conclusion without you knowing how you got there.
sure, sure. Yeah, and that's great filmmaking, isn't it? That is
It
great
certainly
filmmaking.
is.
Not leading you by the hand. It's kind of just, I don't know, gently nudging you in the right direction a bit, yeah. And then it ends with Corvin ultimately leading Carol to a waiting police car. That's going to be an interesting trial, I feel. This whole thing. So you fabricated dreams of lesbian sex with your neighbor in order to get away with the fact that you'd murdered her? Yes. Yes, I did. And then the witnesses are going to be people who are also on trial for murder as well. Complicated. Ever so
Very
complicated.
complicated.
There we
Although I
go.
suppose at this point she's confessed, hasn't she? So
No trial.
you hopefully, yeah, she just pleads guilty, no
Yeah.
trial, sentencing,
Yeah. There we
over and
go.
done.
Over and done with. Maybe for 2 murders as well, if Edmund.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Interesting. Okay. So that is a lizard in a woman's skin. Let's now. This is the part of the part of the show which always feels a bit redundant when we're talking to somebody and it's one of their favorite films. So I apologize for this, but I'm going to ask you to rate the movie A to F. Pluses and minuses allowed. Rate good or rate bad is what we do on every episode. Would you give a lizard in a woman's skin the highest possible score, or are you going to reduce it a little bit, maybe just because of those subplots?
It'd be a B plus,
Okay.
possibly A minus
Okay.
for me. In letterbox terms, 4.5 stars.
Okay.
It's not it's a near perfect film, and it's such incredibly bold filmmaking from Fulci
Mm.
to make this thriller in this way. But at the same time, there are one or two aspects that let it down. There's one subplot too many. Um, the fact that all these characters seem to be indelibly connected to each
Yeah.
other, it just kind of feels a slight step too far to me. But it's a very, very small criticism in what I think is an incredibly intricately plotted
Yeah.
film and a beautifully made film. The fact that he manages to incorporate all this surrealism, the dream logic, and everything else into there, the painting aspects into there, really, really fantastically well done. Yeah, B plus slash A minus, and probably one of the top 10 or 15 Jolly ever made, in
Mm.
my opinion.
Yeah. Difficult for me to rate a film, especially like the first time watching it, because sometimes you learn to appreciate these films a little bit later, especially on repeat watches. But I'll go for a. If you've gone for a B plus, I'll go for a B minus. Again, just because
Fair.
I haven't experienced sort of like tons. As I said, Lucio Fulci, not like a huge, not a complete blind spot for me, but still something, somewhat of a blind spot, and it does make me kind of. I'm definitely more interested in checking out more of his films, especially the non-horror stuff, the family movies, the kids movies he's made as well.
They're so
Uh,
good.
yeah, yeah. So looking forward to being able to check out that, and we'll have to do zombie flesh eaters eventually because I feel like for a horror podcast with nearly 450 episodes, the fact that we haven't covered zombie flesh eaters is probably a little bit crazy, I would say.
Well, I mean, if you decide to, I'd be more than happy to come back if you'd have me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'd love to have you back on the show, Matt. I think this has been a great episode. This feels like we've covered tons, and it's good to sort of have an expert on the director and also the sort of genre as well to talk about all this stuff. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Where can our listeners keep up to speed with you, with your writing, with your new projects, anything like that online? Where can we keep up to speed with you?
Sure, I would say follow me on Instagram at Bava Lamp. So, as we discussed earlier, it's Mario Bava and
Mm.
Lava Lamp
Yeah.
combined. Um, I'm constantly putting posts out there about what I'm up to, what's coming out next, what work I've been doing. If you're listening to this or watching this during Fulci Lives Film Week, if you check out the post I put out on Sunday just gone, I've actually done a giveaway for Fulci's Inferno. So I've got 2 free
Oh,
copies of the
nice.
book up for grabs. All you've got to do is follow me, like the post, and comment Fulci Lives in the comments, and you could be in with a chance of winning a copy of the book. The draw will be this Sunday. So what's the
Yeah.
date?
So
Sunday the 21st.
Sunday the 21st. So if you're listening to this episode immediately after it's released, you'll still have time to go and do that. Let us share the post on Instagram as well. So go and check out the Horror Hangout Instagram page and we'll share it. So you can get a chance to win that as well. Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks to everybody else for listening as well. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast and Rusty Quill for hosting the show. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Threads, horrorhangout.co.uk for everything in one place. And next week, we're talking about Final Destination 2 with returning guest Alice Boyd Leslie. Looking forward to that. Don't claim that this podcast doesn't give you a bit of everything, right?
Absolutely. I love
Absolutely.
Final Destination 2, by the way. It's
It's
my
a good
favourite
one.
of the series.
A good one. Again, can't believe we haven't covered it before.
You'll never catch me driving behind a truck with logs on it.
No,
Never.
definitely not. Never, ever, ever. Right. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Matt. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you very soon. And thanks everybody for listening. Take care. See you later.
Cheers, Ben. Bye.
Bye.